People often ask me what games are in the collections behind me, so I thought it would be quite fun to make some content about the collections for each console that we have. Growing up, I was a PlayStation girl, so that's made collecting for the Sega Saturn particularly interesting to me because there was just so much that I did not know at all about the library. Rather than going for full sets, we've ended up just picking up ones that we've found sort of here, there and everywhere at markets or in shops, etc. But for the purpose of this video, I'm actually only going to share with you the best games that we have in the collection. Let me start by talking about the crown jewel in this Saturn collection. Panzer Dragoon Saga is one of the most coveted and desirable titles Saturn collectors aspire to add to their collections. Buying this back in 2013, we felt ridiculous as spending 120 quid on an old game seemed absolutely absurd. But hearing claims that it was the platform's answer in quality to Final Fantasy VII, we had to try it. Retrospectively, it's lucky we did buy it back then, as the modern breed of collectors are crazy enough to spend £600 for copies of this game, a fact that is all the more mental considering the cost of living squeeze is so much worse today. The world has gone mad. Still, this game is amazing. Set in a post-apocalyptic world, the title follows protagonist Edge on his journey alongside the enigmatic Hazel and her dragon as they uncover ancient mysteries. The game is well known for its impressive 3D graphics, captivating narrative and atmospheric soundtrack that explores themes of ancient technology and environmental devastation. Despite its limited production and late release in the Saturn's life cycle, Panzer Dragoon Saga has garnered a devoted following and is regarded as a standout RPG of its time that gets praised for its ability to push the Saturn's boundaries. No RPG has a battle system and atmosphere quite like this one. Also amongst this collection we have both Panzer Dragoon and Panzer Dragoon Y, two absolutely excellent Star Fox style rail shooters that play completely different to the JRPG that followed them. Fortunately, these classics are more reasonably priced too and are much easier to get a hold of. Developed by Team Andromeda and published by Sega, in the game players control a character riding a dragon where you get to shoot down enemies and obstacles. Like Saga, the pair of games are set in a post-apocalyptic world with a distinctive art style blending organic and mechanical designs. These titles' innovative gameplay, memorable aesthetic and critical acclaim solidify its status as a standout title in the Panzer Dragoon series and a beloved classic for the Sega Saturn console, leading to a 2020 remastered version for modern platforms, reintroducing the game to a new audience. Another title in this collection that is unfortunately getting more and more unreasonably priced is Guardian Heroes, a classic action role-playing game developed by Treasure for the Sega Saturn. While we didn't get a Streets of Rage title or a traditional Golden Axe game on the platform, a case could be made that this one kind of makes up for it. Combining side-scrolling beat-em-up action with RPG elements, the game offers players a rich gameplay experience, full of diverse characters who you can level up and make choices for that impact the game's branching narrative. Its visually impressive 2D graphics and animated backgrounds contribute to its timeless appeal. Just like the classic brawlers on the Mega Drive before it, Guardian Heroes features a cooperative multiplayer mode, enhancing its allure. I'm glad we got this one back when it was still cheaper. If you were looking for a cheaper classic, look no further than Nights into Dreams, a game that is so great that even Shigeru Miyamoto himself has stated that he wished he had created it. Developed by Sonic Team, the game follows protagonists Clarice and Elliot as they enter the dream world of Nightopia to save it from the malevolent Wise Man. Players control Knights, a jester-like character utilising its flight and acrobatic abilities. The game's captivating visuals, colourful aesthetic and a remarkable soundtrack results in a dreamlike gaming experience. I'm very grateful to have access to this fun game. Now I just got to track down a copy of Christmas Nights to join it. Saturn Bomberman is often considered the greatest Bomberman game ever made, and when we take into account that it was only ever released on the Sega Saturn, it's not surprising that it has become highly sought after. Amusingly, I found our old CEX purchase receipt from 2013 still in the box, which hilariously documents that we only paid 15 quid for the game. Isn't it interesting that comparatively Hardly anyone cared about most retro games 10 years ago, but now they are used as an alternative to gold. I guess with the future on its way, everything has a price in Waterworld. This all-time great is renowned for its exceptional multiplayer. Astonishingly, it offers support for up to 10 players and could even be played online if you lived in the right region. Its battle mode for this reason is awesome, but the game's story mode provides a great single player or co-op adventure too. Did I also mention that the soundtrack is absolutely banging? In fact, the music is good enough reason alone to power this game on. It's that good. Another game that's on the rather pricey side is the excellent Die Hard Arcade, a game which, if you're wondering, is actually nothing like Die Hard because it was not marketed as a Die Hard game at all in Japan and was simply a police title known as Dynamite Decker. In this 3D beat-em-up where players can choose to be either John McClane or Chris Thompson, you must fight your way through waves of enemies to rescue the president's daughter from terrorists. In this campy, ridiculous brawler, there are plenty of hilarious environments to interact with, multiple endings, cooperative play, cinematic presentations, challenging boss battles, and quick time events. All in all, you can get tons of replay value from this cult favourite. Here's another, now irritatingly expensive one, Shining Force 3, a renowned tactical RPG developed by Camelot for the system. The game is celebrated for its turn-based, grid-based tactical battles, diverse cast of characters, and strategic depth. It showcased impressive 2D sprite-based graphics and a captivating soundtrack. Unfortunately, its Western release was limited to only the first of 3 scenarios, with the complete story remaining inaccessible to non-Japanese players. Well, unless you've got a little bit of Jack Sparrow in you at least, and fancy playing the English fan translations of the other scenarios. Personally, I'd recommend it. The price of Dragen Force is also absurd today, but once again the gameplay is absolutely epic. In this real-time strategy RPG set in a fantasy world, players select one of 8 rulers, each with their unique storylines and objectives, aiming to unite the continent and bring peace. The gameplay revolves around managing armies and engaging in real-time, large-scale battles on a grid-based battlefield, with armies of up to 100 soldiers. The game's colourful graphics and unique blend of strategy and RPG elements earned it a cult following, with its rarity making it a sought-after collector's item. However, let's be honest, nearly every good game ever made seems to have become sought-after collector's items as of now. Earlier in this video I showed you Panzer Dragoon Saga, a game in the collection spread over multiple discs. The same can be said for Enemy Zero, so it comes in this cool sleeve. This survival horror game developed by Warp stands out in the genre due to its unconventional gameplay mechanics and eerie atmosphere. Unlike its contemporaries like Resident Evil and Silent Hill, Enemy Zero relies on audio cues and a first-person perspective. Players take on the role of Laura Lewis, who must navigate the dark corridors of a spaceship while hunting invisible alien creatures using a sonar-like device called the sonar gun. This unique reliance on sound and limited ammunition creates a tense and challenging experience. Despite getting mixed reviews on release, Enemy Zero remains notable for its experimental approach to gameplay. Another game amongst this collection that doesn't get talked about much is Shining the Holy Ark, an RPG for the system. Standing as a noteworthy entry in the Shining series, the game features interesting 3D graphics offering up a first-person dungeon exploration experience. With turn-based combat, a diverse party system and a magic system, you can delve into a captivating storyline surrounding the protection of the Holy Ark against dark forces. Considering this one doesn't get a great deal of hype, I thought it might be cheap, but according to my eBay check, I was very wrong. Another weird one that is priced much more reasonably is Dark Saviour by Climax Entertainment. This noteworthy action-adventure game that blends 2D and 3D graphics, offering a distinctive visual style. Paired with non-linear storytelling and gameplay, it's certainly something different from other games of the era. Players navigate a 3D isometric world controlling the protagonist Garion as he explores environments, solves puzzles and engages in real-time combat. If you want something a bit more niche, this game is still affordable for a Saturn title. Discworld 2, Missing Presumed, is a point-and-click adventure game released for the Sega Saturn, and what is really interesting about this one is that the Saturn version of this game is a European exclusive. Based on Terry Pratchett's Discworld series, players take on the role of the bumbling wizard Rincewind, tasked with solving a supernatural crisis caused by Death's Vacation. Known for its witty narrative and humorous dialogue, the game features hand-painted graphics with voice acting by notable actors like the legendary Eric Idle, giving the whole thing a Monty Python sort of vibe to it. This is a cherished point-and-click classic for a reason. Also, on the subject of games never released in North America that Europe got, we have Parodius for the Sega Saturn. Known for its hilarious and satirical take on the shoot-'em-up genre, this 2D side-scrolling shooter is very quirky. The game offers challenging gameplay with intricate bullet patterns, collectible power-ups, and cooperative multiplayer support for 2 players. With its colourful graphics, catchy soundtrack, and a delightful blend of parody and humour, it remains a beloved gem for fans of the shoot-'em-up genre. Oh yeah, and did I mention that that's because it's a Saturn shoot-'em-up? Sadly, pricing-wise, games in this genre cost a small fortune. So the same can be said for this one, Darius Gaiden. Set in a distinct aquatic-themed sci-fi universe, players pilot the Silverhawk spaceship through horizontally scrolling levels filled with diverse enemy ships and aquatic bosses. Notably, the game offers a unique branching level structure, enabling players to select their path, resulting in different challenges and encounters. The capture system allows players to acquire power-ups by capturing specific enemy ships using a special beam. This shooty Japanese space shooter has exceptional graphics, memorable music, and challenging gameplay, so it's not shocking really that this one is now highly sought after. Another highlight of owning a Saturn is its amazing light gun games, and fortunately Virtua Cop 2 comes packed with this lovely blue one. This amazing rail shooter originated in the arcades in 1995 and later found success on the Sega Saturn console a year later. Players assume the roles of police officers Michael Hardy and James Cools, embarking on missions to thwart the criminal mastermind Joe Fang. Notable for its impressive 3D graphics and cooperative multiplayer mode, this Saturn version has earned acclaim for delivering an authentic arcade experience to the home console. As great as this game is though, there is a Saturn arcade shooter that I like even more, which brings me to the next game I want to bring up in this collection. House of the Dead. How brilliant is this game? A key fixture in many arcades in the 90s. Along with the decade that followed, to be fair, the Saturn allows you to bring such greatness home. Shooting zombies in the head has never been more satisfying in my opinion, as you assume the roles of special agents on a mission to rescue hostages and battle hordes of the living dead and other supernatural creatures. You have to love this game. Sonic never did get that Sonic Extreme game that was so heavily hyped up for the platform, but that doesn't mean the Saturn didn't get any Sonic. Sonic 3D, for example, would be available for the system, which marked a departure from the franchise's traditional 2D side-scrolling format, instead employing isometric 3D graphics. While the game introduced a novel visual style and gameplay perspective to the Sonic series, it elicited a mixed response from fans and critics. I personally have never enjoyed this one very much, but it is a noteworthy part of Sonic's gaming legacy. The best Sonic experience the Saturn has to offer is this one, Sonic Jam. It served as a compilation of classic Sonic games from the Sega Mega Drive era, including Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Sonic the Hedgehog 3, and Sonic and Knuckles. Beyond faithfully emulating these beloved titles, Sonic Jam introduced a 3D hub world known as Sonic World, offering players a glimpse of Sonic's future in 3D environments. This compilation also featured bonus content like artwork, character profiles and videos, making it a nostalgic treat for fans, offering up a hell of a lot more than the featureless Mario 3D All-Stars that was made available on the Switch a few years ago. Occasionally you just own a game for its cringeworthiness and meme value, and no game fits that statement better than the absolutely dreadful Sonic R. Developed by Traveller's Tales and published by Sega, this racing game features a small roster of characters from the Sonic universe, each with unique abilities, and offers 5 distinct tracks set in vibrant 3D environments. The controls are embarrassingly bad, but the weird soundtrack, including songs such as Supersonic Racing and Can You Feel the Sunshine, makes this one sort of worth trying out. I think the true reason this game is worth owning is simply to trick an unassuming friend into trying it, only for the value of seeing their horrified expression when trying to control the game. One of the coolest elements of the Sega Saturn was its stellar lineup of fighting games, so let me show you which ones are here. Fighting Vipers stands out as a noteworthy entry in the early 3D fighting game genre. Developed by Sega AM2, the game offers a unique twist on the fighting game formula with a diverse roster of characters, each possessing distinct fighting styles and the ability to don protective armour that can be strategically shattered during battles. The armour mechanic, along with the emphasis on aerial combos and ring-outs, sets Fighting Vipers apart from its contemporaries. Although it may not have attained the same level of fame as some other fighting game franchises, its creative gameplay and 3D graphics earned it a place in the hearts of Sega Saturn enthusiasts. Virtua Fighter 2 for the Sega Saturn, released in 1995, stands as a hallmark of early 3D fighting games. A faithful adaptation of its acclaimed arcade counterpart, it showcased the Sega Saturn's capability to deliver impressive graphics and gameplay. The game's technical depth in martial arts combat, diverse character roster, and fluid frame rates set a high standard for its time. Many thought that this game was superior to Tekken on release, so I'd be curious as to which game you think is better. Fighters Megamix is a noteworthy 3D crossover fighting game developed by Sega AM2, as it crosses over Virtua Fighter and Fighting Vipers, then adds even more layers of insanity. These surprise inclusions, like the Hornet car from Daytona USA and AM2's palm tree mascot, and Mr. Meat, brings together iconic characters in a fast-paced and skill-driven fighting game experience. With interactive stages, unlockable content, and various game modes, the game embodies Sega's penchant for creative experimentation during the mid-1990s gaming era. We also have both of the first two Street Fighter Alpha games for the platform. The first of these introduced new gameplay mechanics like alpha counters and custom combos, while featuring a mix of classic and new characters, each with unique moves. The Sega Saturn version stood out for its high-quality 2D sprite animations and backgrounds, showcasing the system's capabilities. The second game introduced more innovative mechanics and a diverse character roster, including series favourites and newcomers. No home console at the time did the Alpha games more justice than the Saturn. Another memorable fighter and decent addition to any Saturn collection is Last Bronx. Set in a post-apocalyptic Tokyo, the game features a diverse cast of characters, each equipped with unique weapons, adding depth to the combat mechanics. The game's distinctive urban aesthetic and weapons-based combat make it a standout title on the Sega Saturn, even if it didn't achieve the same level of popularity as some other fighting game franchises of its era. But in spite of all of this, Last Bronx continues to have a following multiple decades later. Another game we have in this collection, essentially for the hilarity of owning, is Street Fighter the Movie the Game, a distinctively weird Street Fighter game that bears digitized character sprites of actors from the 1994 live-action film, making it even more like a Mortal Kombat title than a Street Fighter one. It even includes some exclusive characters such as the ridiculous Captain Sawada, a character who at one point Capcom intended to launch an entire series of games around. Due to this game's connection with the movie and the use of digitized actors, it's no wonder this unconventional game makes an interesting Street Fighter collectible to many. Another big part of owning a Saturn was for its arcade races, and thankfully, because these are technically sports games, they remain pretty cheap and affordable. Sega Rally Championship is a seminal racing game focusing on off-road rally racing, featuring realistic physics and a selection of rally cars with unique handling characteristics. Sega Rally Championship received a critical acclaim, but better was yet to come in the form of this one. Daytona USA is the true iconic Saturn racing game. This high-speed arcade-style racer offered players the thrill of competing on 3 distinct tracks of varying difficulty levels. Notably, the Sega Saturn version included a split-screen multiplayer mode, allowing 2 players to engage in competitive racing on a single screen. Pair this with one of the catchiest theme tunes ever written, it's not surprising that driving the Hornet in Daytona remains unforgettable. So that was the Sega Saturn collection. So comment below and let me know what you think of it. And also let me know which collection you think I should showcase next time. Thank you very much. See you in the next video.